I work with
Yeah.
several different systems, human design, gene keys, astrology. I have a big psychological background, plant medicine, just lots of different weird things that I kind of bring all together. I don't want you to believe anything that I say. This is not a spiritual situation. You can have your own spiritual experience with the codes I give you, but I'm addressing your mind, right? On your mental aspects by giving you the mechanics of how you function so that your mind can kind of become the ally, step out of the way, and we convert the mind to being a translator of our
Right.
consciousness and truth instead of grabbing the distortion of the world, all the stuff I'm sure you know about. And yeah, so it gives us a lot of specifics around that. I am not divinating. I may have a gift in being able to communicate and pull from all the codes, but it's code, so I'm not like guessing or maybe it's this or that. But I want to give you some really practical things to experiment with. So don't believe me. You need to experiment with a couple of things I'm going to give you today. And what we're going to do is we're going to align our consciousnesses. Okay. We are a dualistic being. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have two consciousnesses. We have the personality, the soul, who we think we are, the what comes out when we are born, right? Like it's the natal chart in astrology. It's one aspect, right? And then we have the form consciousness, which is the second part, which is the same consciousness that makes your heart beat. You don't have to think about it, right? It's the form. Everything that's not the mind is the form. So we need to live with these two consciousnesses, the the mind and aligning that, and then the form of life, right? Not just the body, it's our entire life, right? It's these two things that compose the specifics of your life. Okay, so we're going to be diving into that. My aim here, my goal is to help you access the purpose of your existence. Okay, by understanding who you are, and we're going to be shedding all this stuff that we think we are, and really just a lot of self-acceptance and awareness. Okay, because right now we're moving through life, we're going through things, and from the time we're born, we come into this world, there's a lot of conditioning, a lot of energy, right? We're all mostly receptive.
Yeah.
Okay, so we receive a lot of energy, information, and it's science-based. This is based on neutrinos, right? Which is, we're living in an ocean of, literally, it comes from stars. It's information. We produce them as well. And each one of us are specific extractors, meaning we digest this food of life, right? Which we perceive as time and movement and experience. But it's really just the neutrinos coming through. We have our specific mechanics that we operate with and that we process. Okay. This is the first chart we're going to go into. And when we process the neutrinos and we take all this in, when we're correct, right? When we're in our alignment, we can extract a uniqueness, right? That is not something that exists, right? So everything is a duality. We're going to be seeing everything as a duality. You have your true self and you have the not self, right? We're not getting rid of the not self, but it's the juxtaposition, the movement of the two things, the mind, the form, true self, not self, right? And we'll get into all this for you, but it's the point where both of those meet that we want to get to the center, so we can see a truth. And you're extracting something unique for you. Like you're a miner, like we're different miners, right? We're mining out consciousness. And not many people actually get to this point in life where they actually are able to not choose a side. They see, okay, I'm at the middle. Where is the truth? Little light contemplation. So before we get started here with your chart, this is not about like collecting painting supplies and not painting, right? So I'm going to give you your paintbrush and your canvas and some paints, and throughout the week I'm going to say, hey, just practice with just these two things. and it's all about awareness. It's not about doing anything because we don't have control. And we're going to see that. So there's only two things that you need to like do.
Okay.
And everything else that we're going to talk about throughout all of the calls is converting distortion, energy into wisdom, right? Because that's what it actually is. So we're going to clarify kind of like a camera lens, you know, on the life, like why all these things are always happening, or, you know, all that kind of stuff and what it's for. Because each one of us, like I said, we are beings that are soaking in the neutrinos. We're extracting consciousness, and that is the purpose, right, of your existence, right, is to get to your potential with your consciousness. So everything that's happening in the world, in the life, in the existence is squeezing you to try to find that doorway to you. Like, okay, where are we going to pop you out so that you can experience that? Okay. So I can just explain the codes around that. So we're going to start with the first thing that you need to practice with. There are 4 main types of what we call vehicles on the planet. If you remember in the podcast, I was kind of talking about projectors, generators, reflectors, manifestors, those kind of things. So you are a generator. This is what I would write down to start with. I'm also a generator.
Oh, okay.
Yep, you're a pure generator. And generators are about 65% of the population. Generators are here to find satisfaction in how we use our energy. It is about enjoying the process or enjoying the journey and not so much the outcome, right? Yeah, the outcome's nice, but it's more about doing what you're doing every day in a way that's like satisfying. Okay. So I'm a generator. I've been doing this for a long time. And, you know, my day is filled with just the things that satisfy me. I like cooking. I like doing this. I like playing my piano. I love my dog. I garden. You know, there's things that like my life is filled with those things that really satisfy me. Normally when we come into this information, because I believe when I first started as well, I was kind of a little bit confused because being a generator, this gives us the first thing, which is what we call the strategy. The strategy is how you movement. Right. The juxtaposition of those two things, right? We're going to be in the middle now. You're being pulled down a fractal, down a trajectory, down a line, down a life. You're being pulled, right? The mind takes us off the track, but the form, consciousness, for you to have access to knowing 100% that you're in the right direction is with this part, the strategy. Your strategy is to respond. I was super confused when I first learned this. I was like, what? Okay, that seems really easy. What it means though is don't initiate. You're not the one that makes the first contact. You're not the one that starts the conversation. You are not taking ideas and concepts and visions and inspirations and anything that's coming from the inside and trying to go do it. So this is like counterintuitive to what we are taught in life, right? It's like, oh, follow your dreams, pull yourself up from your bootstraps and just make it happen. Well, this leads to the opposite of satisfaction, which is the other duality, frustration. So satisfaction and frustration. If I worked with you for 20 years, just hypothetical, right? I was like, all right, what do we really figure out? What we would figure out for you is that it really boils down to the energy of satisfaction and knowing where the frustration is and just going to the satisfaction, right? It's actually that simple. Generators, we have like a Taurus energy, right? It's like a magnet, the Taurus shape that brings things in. Now, conditioning when we come into the world, our mind goes, wait, no, can't be like that. We got to push out. We got to go do. We got to figure our life out. We have to go make decisions. We have to like use the mind to figure out our life, right? So it takes us off of being in that center point, and now we're going to be on one side or the other, and it's creating all that distortion. The lens is not focused, right? kaleidoscope. We get lost in it rather than being the observer watching the two things. Okay. It will make a lot of more sense as we move. But all you need to do for this week, just do this for 1 week, is don't make any decisions for one. Don't try to figure out your life. Your mind is going to be doing what it normally does.
Yeah.
We can't stop it. It's a computer. It's just like, you know, what it normally does.
Yeah.
We're going to work with that, but we're going to watch it and we're just not going to do what it says. Now, brush your teeth, do your dishes, you know, do your daily stuff. But when it comes to decisions, because this is what this is about, is decision making. This is how you make decisions 100% as yourself, like in full sovereignty, in your own authority, that you know it's not coming from influence or conditioning or trauma, any of that stuff, right? This is how we bypass, like get rid of the conditioning and go straight to the form, that consciousness that makes your heartbeat, because it knows how to lead the life.
Yeah.
We're surrendering over to that. And eventually the mind will become the ally. So this is what I need you to remember and practice with. Am I responding or am I initiating? What I want to hear when I talk to you next is I'm going to say, hey, how's it going with your strategy? I want to hear something like, well, I noticed where my mind really felt the urge to like call this person or, you know, start this new thing. And I didn't do it, even though my mind was like fighting with me about it or whatever. I didn't do it. And I just trusted. And what I normally hear from people, because you are that Taurus donut magnet, you're designed for people to come to you and ask you. They're going to ask you to generate for them. Generators, when we get into the groove, we are like a battery that powers up. Through that satisfaction energy, it creates things. And it took me a while to realize even how this works, because the mind's like, well, playing piano, you're wasting time. You need to go do something else. Even though I just like playing piano. I just like the whole process of it, you know? I realized when I do the things that are more in that satisfaction energy, it aligns things in my life, right? Doesn't mean we don't have suffering, but we are where we need to be, right? And doing what we need to be doing. And this is how you will know if you're making the right decision with no doubt, right? Is like, was I asked? Did it come from outside of my body? That's responding. The door knocked, the dog barked, somebody called me, someone physically like they literally asked me. I almost like make the universe come get me. You get more and more into this magnetic pull the more you do it. In the meantime, you just focus on what's satisfying, do your daily stuff, take care of your body, and have awareness, you know. So that's where we're going with this strategy. When you do your strategy, which your strategy is to respond, when you do it, what happens is you get into a rhythm. Your life is about momentum and rhythm. And we're going to see what that is all about for you. Because you have a lot of interesting things, like what you're creating, where your life is heading, where that string that's pulling on your life, where that's going, like what it's doing. You know, so we'll get to all that. And your life is going to take over, because the life is the form. The mind now becomes the translator of consciousness of what the form is going through. It becomes the observer or the passenger, right? So you follow the satisfaction, you notice where the frustration is. What are you doing in your life right now that's bringing a lot of frustration? You know, or like it's just draining you. You're not generating life force energy, it's degenerating.
Yeah.
Draining you. And don't do anything about it, right? We're going to just watch it first, see it. And this is like putting the train on the track. All right, so first step. The mind's going to fight with you. you're also going to go through a chemical process, an emotional process with this, a wave. It's going to lead us to the second thing. So the way that you always know if you're making the correct decision, the first step in the formula was I asked, or is this coming from my internal? Oh, spirit told me, the angels told me, I have an idea, it's my inspiration, but what were you asked?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else can be leading to distortion, which will automatically lead to resistance and frustration if you initiate.
Mm.
All right. If you don't know, do it anyways. Like, just do it anyways, because you'll get the same response and that will teach you to. Okay. All right. Second thing is the authority. If we want you to make your decisions in your own authority, that's not coming from conditioning and it's not like someone else's decision, right? It's your own decision, which is how you're going to navigate your life. We need to know what your inner authority is. This is the second thing. So strategy and authority. Your authority is what we call solar plexus authority. It's not the chakras. And it's also called emotional authority. And I'm going to need to take a little bit of time to explain this. Your authority is your nervous system. And your nervous system is operating through waves up and down, hope to pain, happiness to sadness, excitement to boredom. And for you, a lot of it has to do with desire and fantasy and wanting to do things and wishes. And we'll get into all the specifics about that. But movement, like, oh, maybe I'll take a trip. Maybe I'll go do this, right? And probably when you were before 40, maybe more so in that time, because some of your codes kind of adjusted or really came to an alchemical process that led to maybe not as much movement. But we'll see about that. So you have a wave up and down, up and down, up and down. There's no truth in the now for you. You're getting pieces of truth because what's happening is your nervous system is pumping out chemicals. You have what we have two waves. You have a sine wave, which is kind of regular maybe. And it has to do with what you want to change, maybe going on a trip, doing different things, adventures. It's an experiential wave. It's a genetic process that leads us to new adventures, right? New experiences. The other part of the wave that you have is a ratcheting wave, like a ratchet. Bubbles up, snap. That has a lot to do with relationships, commitments, and really it's indicating to you what bargains and agreements. It's a lot about agreements that you need to make with people. It's also about marriage and divorce. And so we'll talk about that. But what you need to do is be aware every day what your chemicals are indicating to you. So we have the fields of psychiatry and psychology and stuff like this that's like trying to fix this in people, right? It doesn't mean there's a problem. It's just a chemical. But then the mind, right, it interprets and goes, oh God, this chemical really hurts, or this thing hurts, or it correlates it to a reason, which may be true. Yeah, they said that, they did that. This wasn't fair. There needs to be a new boundary. I mean, it's an alarm system. So you have like an internal alarm system that is the nerves, which is also excitement, nerves, nervousness. Clarity comes to you over time. So even with this information, you're going to process it over the next week and give more wisdom. Depending on where you are in the chemical process, your wave is like putting on glasses that are different color. So let's say you woke up today, because every morning you wake up in a different wave. You woke up today, let's say it was at a higher part of the wave, let's say. I don't know, but let's say it's a higher part of the wave. It's kind of like putting rainbow glitter glasses on, right? So it's like you see everything like that. If you're in a good mood, you know, you feel like being social. Maybe you put music on. There's like, it's more of like this energy that you're in, call it like spirit, right? Spirit consciousness, but not spirituality. It's a different thing. But so you don't want to make decisions when you have the rainbow glasses on, right? When you're excited, because you are processing the fields. We call it spirit, but it's like the energy, the essence, the awareness, it's like the chemistry of the movement of now, right? It's like every moment you have a different glasses on. So you have the rainbow on, and let's say you get this information, right? Like everything that you're going through with anyone and anything is going to go through a wave process, because it's like a specialization of perspective that you have. You start, maybe you have the rainbow glasses, and then as time passes, it's going to maybe go down, and then maybe it's like the storm glasses come on, you know, where it's like, I don't think that could really work. And you know, you start to see the dark and the low end, and that's all you see in it.
Yeah.
So let's say that you meet someone new, and you're in a dark end of your wave, right? Which is nothing you can do about it. It's chemical. It's the alarm system of your body saying, be alone. Something's coming through. We need to see this, right? Let's say you go meet somebody new and you have this dark wave, the dark glasses on. Even if the person is being really nice, or they're wanting to connect, or they're giving you an opportunity, or they're inviting you to do something, the dark glasses may make it seem where the only thing you're hearing is, it's like you might be taking it wrong, or like it's like anything you're experiencing is kind of like in this dark end. So you don't want to make a decision there either, right? Because there's not full awareness. I don't have this, okay? Half of the world has it. I'm in the other half. I'm the receiver of this from others. So like I'm like an empath to that. You have other empath abilities we're going to talk about, but like everyone in my family has this, right? The emotional wave. A lot of people that I know, my boyfriend has it, you know, everybody I know really, a lot of people I know. So it's just this process, you know, of like knowing where you are in the wave, and then blame, shame, or guilt. These are the attempts of the mind to feign control of life, right? Because it's like, if we blame, shame, and guilt, and somebody or something had control, we didn't have control, we have control, but it's not real. So nothing's personal. This is going to be a big thing as we move through this. Like even the things where it's like, why did that person do that? Or like, clearly that is not right. Doesn't mean don't have boundaries. We're going to talk about that. But I don't know how you are in the low end of the wave, but if there is blame, shame, and guilt of yourself or others, right? And some people, when I talk to them about their wave, they might be like, I don't have a wave. We need to have awareness of your wave, like every day. Like, where are you? It's a beautiful thing, you know. We just have to learn how to use it. So how would you describe your experience with like what I'm talking about, the wave, and like your emotional state, and like that it's literally like an energy in your body, your nerves, confrontation, all those kind of things?
I get moods, I suppose. Get some moods when I feel low, and sometimes, like at the moment, I'm going through a thing where I absolutely hate my work. But then that's always there. But it's particularly prevalent in the last couple of days, and I was just thinking, oh, I can't bear this. It's awful. So yeah, I've been trying to lift myself back up because I'm feeling a bit down in the dumps, so to speak. So I guess I'm maybe down at the bottom of the wave. I don't know. It could depends. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, especially with that, and like what we were talking about in the first part, you know, the satisfaction or the frustration. And you do have some things in your chart that have to do with perception of certain limitations, and we're going to get into that to like help you with that part. But it doesn't sound like it's satisfying you.
It's
What
not.
kind of work are you doing?
I just work for my local hospital. It's an office job. That's all. Yeah, been there for 20 odd years now, and it's one of those things where you know that you should leave, but you can't bring yourself to do it because I might have to find something else, and it's not easy to find something always, especially not when you get older. So I don't know. I'm just trying to assess the situation at the moment and decide what to do. Because it's got to come.
And like what we were saying, like how you navigate, first of all, it's like where you ask, like what's coming in. And I think that we'll probably be talking a lot more too, because like most of the people I end up working with, like they kind of get into a role where it's like what I was saying, your day is meant to be filled with satisfaction, and like doing this information, like practicing with it will get you there. It will work. Like, don't believe me, but I promise you it will work. Like it definitely works. And there's a lot of, it's scary, a little bit at first, because it's like, how am I going to pay my bills? What am I going to do? And then like the more committed you get to your satisfaction, that's what people buy. Like that's your mastery, that's your gift, so that is how you can contribute, and then you get taken care of. You're a generator. Like you literally, once you really start getting into that satisfaction energy, you generate money, funds, clients, like resources, and abundance, and it's not going to come from anywhere you think, because the mind's going to be like, well, in order to get down the line, our life, our trajectory, we got to do this and that. And it's a trap. We're in the deceptive part of the evolution, so this is why we're popping out, because the door's closing. That's that whole call I did on that podcast. Doors closing in 5 years. So we're moving to something else, but that's why everything's falling apart. It's ending. So this is such a crucial time to do this, and this is the only thing that will help you transition in this next space, right? As the door is closing, the wheel's turning, we're moving through the next evolutionary stage. So strategy and authority is what you need to do. So the authority is never be spontaneous, never make a gut instinct reaction. Don't try to be intuitive, which is like, I'm making a decision now, right? Okay. You are more meant to be indecisive. The only way you know when to make a decision is when you feel less nervous. So when you think about leaving your job, and if you're responding to like, a situation comes up, and then maybe one day you're going to be like, okay, I'm done. You'll know when to do that because you're less nervous. And you might be asked, someone might ask you like, hey, what's wrong? What, like, maybe you don't seem as happy as you were at your job, and they ask you, and then you're able to like, and just be honest and just like, okay, like I can't do this or whatever it is. And then whatever you're doing in the meantime, because like this is going to be a transition of movement, right? So maybe there's certain areas in your life that are a lot of distortion, right? Like your work and things like that. So what we do is like, more so now you are going to focus like, what are the things that are satisfying? You might not even know. A lot of generators, and I didn't even know when I first started too, I was like, I don't know. I mean, I like to sleep. I like to eat, I like animals. But it's weird. It's like you get more into this like mastery, and you have a lot of mastery too. You are meant to master things. Okay. We're pure generators. So we do things step by step by step, and we learn and we learn and we learn and we grow. And so start seeing your life as that. Every time you do something satisfying, you're building your battery, which is going to show up in your entire life. Like things will come in. Like I have had things come in where I'm like, I didn't even know how that happened. Like just like several thousands of dollars or this, and I'm just like, I have no idea, like I could not have predicted that, and that's what I am trying to help people to do, is like to know how to pop into that. And it's not woo woo. Like I am not into the woo woo, right? I was for a while. Like I went through all that. I studied like all these philosophies, religions, plant medicines. I lived in other countries for 5 years doing plant medicine. Like I've experimented with all that stuff. And I'm like, wait, no, that like there's a lot of code behind this and like practical science, But yeah, so for now, all you have to do is have awareness.
Yeah.
Were you asked? Did it come from outside your body? Or is it coming from an inside inspiration or voice or whatever idea? If it's coming from the inside, don't do it. If it's outside and they're asking you, okay, we know step one might be possible. Like, all right, that part's right. All right, now we know the second part is the authority. Well, I'm emotional authority, so I should never be spontaneous, even if I feel like, yes, this is right. Oof, I'm going to say maybe, or even say no. You have two things in your chart to start with that are very magnetic and attractive, like code wise, that like when you get into this groove, people like be coming to you and they, you're here to teach, you're here to do a lot of these things. So you were asked, okay, you're not deciding yet. You tell them, hey, call me back in a week. I'm not sure yet. Be more indecisive. Whenever you feel pressure to make a decision, that's an indication I need to wait longer. Right? Sometimes with some people with the emotional authority, you may have felt this before too. There can be like this, like sitting on the fence thing for a long time, and that's okay too. But ask yourself, like, am I nervous? Because you need to be asked like twice. So my boyfriend, who I've been with for over a year, he's emotional authority. I know this about him. I operate in a different time frame. I know in the now. Like I'm sacral, I'm in the now. It's not better or worse or anything. You have more wisdom in certain areas. And I have maybe more clarity around like where I want to go. Right. So different. But my boyfriend, I know this about him. So I'll ask him a question. And if he's like, I'm not really sure, I'm just like, all right, don't worry about it. And I'll ask him again later. So what do you want this for dinner, or, stupid stuff. And then try not to pressure him to make a lot of decisions, in the now. And then like I said, my whole family, my mom, my sisters, my brothers, like everyone in my family is emotional authority. So I've experienced a lot of that growing up, and honoring your mood is going to be the second part. So yeah, don't be spontaneous. Okay, we're going to have awareness of where our chemistry is. Now we're going to have awareness of how the mind is creating a story, a personalization. Are we emotionalizing? Are we blame, shaming, and guilting ourselves or others? Okay, we have awareness, that's fine. But now we're going to be aware of the fact that this is a feeling in the body. Like, oh, I feel like a heat all the way through my system. Like I physically feel, or whatever. For you, there can be things that you feel in your stomach, like your actual stomach. Some of your sleep stuff can be, how's your sleep?
I sleep okay, actually, but I don't often remember my dreams. Not often.
You have any stomach things?
No, not really, no.
Cool.
I've been vegan for the last year, so there's that sort of change.
Yeah, nice. So you're going to honor your mood, right? Which can come in through melancholy, which is, it's a separate chemistry, it's a different chemistry, but honoring your mood is going to be part of this wave part. So you have the ratcheting wave, which is agreements. We're going to dive into this deeper, but it's like family, friends, people, like interpersonal relationships, balancing alone time and socializing and all that kind of stuff. You have the other chemistry of the maybe I want an adventure. I wish things were like this. I wish it was like this. It's like this fantasizing desire, yearning, inner fire, which is how the mind picks up these genetic codes for this one, which is a lot about the wisdom of experience, because you have been through a lot of crisis and conflict, like in your life. And I do have a couple things to ask about that. But, and then you have this other chemistry, which is like spiking. It's like all of a sudden I'm up, all of a sudden I'm down, and it's moody, right? It's melancholic, sadness. And what it really is, though, is your genes are mutating. Like there's like a quantum jump possibility in the consciousness, but it comes through sadness, because the sadness is trying to get you to be alone. In these moments, you might feel misunderstood by others, or just like there's, if you go out when you're feeling this way, it's like the interactions, that things are not correct. Like it just, people are misunderstanding you, or they're like perceiving you as, it's just like a weird feedback loop. And this happens to me too. I have the melancholy chemistry. And so I noticed this as soon as it starts to happen. It's like such a weird thing. And I used to think that, oh, maybe I'm antisocial, or like, what's wrong? Even though I'm pretty social too, but like, oh, maybe I have social anxiety. I'm like, no. So it's about learning to understand the language of your form. So the moods are telling you to be alone, and it's the most creative energy, because that's where the mutation, something new is coming in for you. This can happen for you when maybe someone feels provoked by you, or you feel provoked by them. That's something that I'm seeing as well, the provocation. People might even think you're hard-headed, or you might not know why they were provoked by you, or what was like, all of a sudden they're like, can you stop tapping your pen like that? Or, something like that. That's like pretty meaningless, but you can tell there's like a tension, like it's some sort of tension in the air. These could all be like signs that you're in the chemistry, right? The melancholy. So you only need to do these things like twice, right? So if you can, and I believe you can, have that awareness of like, before you make a decision, right? You understand that like, oh, this is what we were talking about. And you like almost like pause the hologram, and you can witness it. You don't have to do anything. You could even still be making the decision or whatever, but it's like you have that awareness. Oh, okay. And then now you can watch, and it elevates the space through the fractal of your awareness, and it gets better. Same with these chemistries. If next time you're sad or down, if you can go, oh, okay, that's a thing we were talking about, some melancholy. Oh God, I feel it in my body. I'm overwhelmed with it. It's like dark, deep pits of grief and darkness. It's like you have that ability in your chart to like go into that. It's your individuality. It's just mechanism. But if in those moments you still cry, you can still be however you deal with it, right? Shut down, or being alone, or feeling isolated, whatever it is. If in that moment you can be like, okay, that's that thing, right? And I'm noticing where I'm still feeling the heat in my body, or where is it in my body, right? Like I'm feeling it in my stomach, I'm not breathing, there's grief in my lung, whatever it is, that you're feeling, and just have that awareness in the process, because then eventually what will happen, it will get easier. Sometimes when I'm like crying or whatever, and I'm going through it, I'm like laughing. I'm like, it's my chemistry, it's like, it's because it is, and it psychologically saves you. And then you get the extraction of the consciousness from it. Now all of a sudden, once you do that, you get the floods of downloads, it changes you mutate up. Whereas if you make a reason, if you're like, oh, they said this, or they did that, or I'm doing this, or this is how, whatever the story is that your mind as you're diving into the pits of hell, you know, the darkness of your spirit, you know, that's part of the realm that we're in. It's part of the human experience. You know, there's a struggle. It's really hard to be human. You know, if while you're going down in that, your mind is like, well, it's because of this, and it starts making reasons, it like solidifies the downward mutation, and you mutate down. And then this is what depression is, right? So this is all just mechanics of how all this stuff operates, right? So that's what I want you to work on this week, is the strategy and authority. Throughout all of our calls, I'm always going to probably start the call with that. How's it going with your strategy and authority? This is going to indicate to me how much more information I can give to you. Okay. This is the paintbrush and the canvas, right? So I could give you 100 more paints, you know, and I'm planning to do that. But these are the two things that you have to be painting with, you know, otherwise it doesn't matter, right? This is the only thing that matters. This is really the only thing that you need, is the strategy and authority. Everything else is very fascinating. It improves your communication. It helps you unlock your genius. It, you know, it's a deeper way to meet this information. We've still barely scratched the surface. So, but I'm going to start every call with that. How's it going to your strategy and authority? Now, if you are in a wave when we have a scheduled call, I will really honor and respect you if you let me know and reschedule. Because if you're in a wave and we try to do the call, it's not going to probably be, it's going to be harder for the information to get to you, because you're meaning to be alone. So the whole field of you is like trying to, like, you know, be alone.
Yeah.
There's no problem with that. You can reschedule and things like that. There's a rare occasion where I will need to reschedule, because if I'm in a melancholy, I reschedule too. So I'm like, I don't want to, you know, share in this energy right now, you know? So this is all about honoring what your body's telling you and letting that lead your life. And you have permission to do that, right?
Yeah.
Now, last thing here, it's important, because your body, your form, doesn't always have the access to the mental articulation and things like that. So, you know, apply this to your life in general. If you ever need to reschedule with other people, because you'll need to, now that you have this information. It's like, oh, my energy is saying no. Like, I shouldn't be going there. Yes, I planned a dinner with all these people. I'm not going. I know it's like, they might be mad, but like, you'll start to see, if you do end up going when you're in the wave, it's like taxes you. Like, the whole situation may be like a disaster, or like it just an internal, it taxes you. So you never need to explain yourself. And if I ever reschedule, I just say, hey, I need to reschedule our call. Can you do this day? And that's it. You know, don't try to make a reason for anything. And if people are like, well, why? I just need to reschedule. You know, just leave it at that. Because your body and the chemistry, like, you don't always have access. You don't really have access to the why.